And I think that there is this romanticized idea that you're gonna come out and that people are just gonna accept you. Hey guys, so I thought today we'd do a little bit more of the kind of like podcast format that one of our subscribers enjoyed. For today's topic, I thought we'd talk about what motivated me to come out. So what were the catalysts in my life that ended up making me feel like now was the right time to come out to my parents? A couple of things about myself. I've always been an effeminate person, so there's always been speculation, rumors, gossip that I was gay, even from a very young age. Even in like middle school, people call me names, and they made jokes about me liking other guys, which was true. Basically what happened is I went through a phase of liking one girl when I was in middle school, and then I also was dating another girl in my 11th year of high school. And I dated her primarily to have a prom date, and we ended up dating for a little over a year. There were several events that had happened that led to me deciding to come out when I was 16. So it was in 11th grade. When I decided to come out was shortly after finishing a theater piece that I was doing in high school in junior year. So in our school, we had in Southeast Asia several schools that were part of what we call the IASAS group, IASAS, which stands for Interscholastic Association. I don't know what the letters stand for. I'll put them here. And so these schools, we all get together and we show off our performances. There's both a theater and a dance part. There are other IASAS competitions, which include soccer, basketball, you name it, they do it. But basically, after completing my theater, I decided, I was playing a character in La Cage aux Folles, which means the birdcage. And I was the son of two gay parents, and that was the character I was portraying, a straight son trying to marry a girl who comes from a traditional family. And so after kind of playing this role, I kind of got fed up with being closeted. There might have been a part of me that living through this kind of straight character, I came to some self-realizations that I can't keep on hiding my identity and who I am, because it was extremely stressful. It caused a lot of anxiety, borderline depression. I mean, I was never diagnosed with these kind of things, but I would just have these fits of like petrifying levels of fear that somebody would discover I'm gay, that I would be out of my control. And I think a large thing I realized is I wasn't really scared of being gay. I was scared of how was my gay identity delivered to people? How was my coming out process? How was me being gay going to change the life I currently had? And I think a lot of people kind of think, it's the whole being gay thing that we're scared of admitting to. But, I don't think we really care that much what gender of person we fall in love with. What we're more scared of is that when we come out, the impact is going to have on our lives, right? Because obviously there is very, very few people who are born and know immediately that they're gay. There are people who are, and I was feminine from birth, but the point being that, I was raised where people perceived me as being heteronormative, right? And when people perceive you being heteronormative, your life is kind of built around that structure. And then when you turn a certain age and realize your sexual identity, your sexual orientation, then the big thing is there might be this huge paradigm shift when now people no longer going to view you the same, right? Even though you're essentially the same person, you just love in a way that they're not used to. Anyways, kind of getting sidetracked here, but after my IASAS performance, where I was playing the straight character, I decided to, just be more honest and to start with my honesty at home. I come from a very understanding family background. They're very, they're not open-minded, they're traditional, but they value above everything else open communication, honesty, and truly the importance of love, right? And patience, love and patience. And so I came out, and I think you guys have heard my coming out story before, where I basically did it over breakfast, very casually. And it was a very awkward but important time for me. You know, I think it is for everybody. At the end of the day, I was just really tired of lying. And it came to this point where I was intentionally not participating in certain things that were happening around me, like my friends going out and, you know, going partying, getting drunk, like going to these clubs, because I was scared that if I were to get drunk, I would lose my control over how I present myself and what I do or don't say, and that, you know, I was so desperate to come out anyways that if I did get drunk, it would just pop out of me. And then once again, it was that lack of control of how I came out that scared me a lot. And so I said, you know what, let's just bite the bullet. Let's just get in front of this so I can continue living my life. Right? What were my big takeaways when it came to this whole experience? I mean, there's a couple things. Number one, it won't be less stressful in the closet. If it's stressing you out more than anything else in your life, then it's just going to continue to stress you out. So you may as well just live with the consequences of what happens, right? Because your imagination and the torture your imagination is going to put you through is a lot more painful because there's no certainty, right? It's that kind of lack of closure. The moment that you do it, regardless of whether it's a positive or negative response that you have from whoever you're coming out to, at least you have that finality of knowing what their response was, right? And it's still going to be stressful, but now it's no longer just your mind and imagination making up things. You figure out how you're going to move on from this stage. Or if you need to, you know, if you're an adult and you decide to just cut them out of your life and build another chosen family, I think it's really important that we consider that as well. You know, family is who we were born with, but we also can choose who we surround ourselves with and the new family that we'll have moving forward in life. So anyways, the point was that your imagination is far worse than reality. And I don't mean that reality will be good, right? I just mean that playing these scenarios in your mind will achieve nothing, right? Number two, sooner or later, they'll find out. It's also a matter of time. If you are actively participating in the gay community, it's only a matter of time before you get outed, right? It doesn't have to be an intentional outing. It can be completely accidental. You know, people might say, like, let's say you're straight acting and you never date anybody, and then you're 40 years old and people are like, oh, you know, what must be wrong with him? Oh, maybe, like, why isn't he dating anybody? You know, people will arrive at their own assumptions, right? Not to say that being single and 40 is wrong. It's just that's the Asian mentality, right? That persists here where we live. Number three, fresh starts ain't fresh when you have old laundry. Another thing for people who are younger in high school and on the cusp of graduating, a lot of us think to ourselves, you know, I'm going to go to university and I am going to be gay, I'm going to be bi, I'm going to be whatever, wherever you are on that spectrum. I'm going to come out and I'm going to truly be myself in this new, fresh start. The thing is, social media, all these other things, right? There's no such thing as a fresh start, a truly clean cut, fresh start that will be completely separated from your life outside of university, right? When you choose to come out and be your true self in university, I'm not saying you have to come out before doing it, but a thing to consider is if you come out before going to university, then you don't have that pressure of trying to hide who you are.
Online, or when you go home, or when you're interacting with your parents on Skype or FaceTime, whatever you're using while you're at university.
Right, if you come out before you go, then you truly can let your wings spread open and fly. That was a really corny metaphor, but you get what I mean, right? You won't feel that burden of having to hide even though you are open now. Number four, ease into it if you have to. And one thing that I did do, to be honest, is that I came out with the bi card. And I think that a lot of gay men, at least in my time, I'm not sure about you guys now or in the old days, but I came out saying I'm bi because my family is very traditional. We've talked a little bit about this in the past videos. You can look at our, I'll try and link here our coming out stories. It's a bit long, but it really gives you an in-depth as to kind of how we came out, Arthur and I, and how we have very different stories. Anyways, so I came out bi in order to make the process a little bit easier for my parents, because I thought that explaining it that, I also like men would help them to eventually transition into, well, now I exclusively like men. I've tried both, and now I've chosen. Not to discredit bi people, but it just was a easier step for me, where the first year I came out, and then within a year or two afterwards, I told them I was full-fledged gay.
Number 5, passion.
Acceptance isn't always immediate. Most of the time, acceptance takes time. And I think that there is this romanticized idea that you're going to come out and that people are just going to accept you, right? There are people out there who will, and you will know who those people are, and you will, be able to make friends with people who don't care about sexual orientation, or who are, forward-thinking and modern enough to know that it doesn't matter. But when it comes to your family, who you've been raised with, and you don't really get to choose to have them in your life, you're born with them, you have to take into consideration their background as well. And it took a lot of time. It's taken me over a decade, 12 years now, where I'm still building towards making them understand what does it mean to be gay, and how is it really not that different from being straight, right? And I think that's the thing, right? It's about breaking down those stereotypes that they have pre-existing, their conception of what I am or who I am because of my sexuality. And a lot of it's just re-educating them that it's exactly the same. I'm the same person, I just happen to love men, right? And I think that, there are future conversations that are going to continue to be difficult. So if somebody's immediate response, as long as it's not hurtful and violent, right? As if their immediate response isn't exactly how you expected them to respond, remember that they have their own biases and upbringing that will take time to change. There must have been a time in your life where you thought, you responded very poorly. You got angry, you got upset, or however, and in hindsight you think to yourself, oh man, I wish I'd handled that better. Parents are the same, family is the same, right? There might be the immediate response isn't great, but I'm sure that, it's not a reflection of the future, right? It means that they still can change. They might regret the way they responded. They might want to try and make up for it, and don't shut them down completely or completely cut them out of your life just because they didn't respond the way you hoped they would. Give it time, work through it, have the patience. Once again, of course, not if they're hurtful and they are abusive. That's different. Obviously, you need to step away from that. You need to take yourself away from that toxicity, and you need to find your new family. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Anyways, so that was the motivation behind why I decided to come out, what I took from it, what I learned from it, and, my own little piece of advice to anybody who might be trying or considering coming out. If you guys have any, interesting experiences or insight or comments, feel free to message or comment below. We always say that the best way to reach to us directly is through our Instagram. So it's Hub and Hubs, HUB and HUBS, just on Instagram. If you want to speak directly with us and you don't want to share anything in comments in the channel below. Subscribe if you think that you want to see more. Okay. Bye, guys.